The rain came down hard that night. Doyen pulled his jacket closer and hurried toward his car. His daughter Hannah walked beside him, holding his hand tight. She was 7 years old and tired from her long day at school. They had just left the after-school care center. It was almost 8 in the evening. Doyen worked long hours as an engineer, and Hannah had to stay at the center until he could pick her up. He always felt guilty about it, but there was no other choice. Not since his wife had died 3 years ago. The parking lot was dark and empty. Most people had gone home hours ago. Doyen fumbled with his keys, eager to get out of the rain. Then Hannah stopped walking. "Dad," she said softly. "Look." She pointed toward the dumpsters at the edge of the parking area. Doyen squinted through the rain. At first he saw nothing. Then he noticed something small huddled behind one of the large bins. A pile of clothes, maybe. Or trash. "Come on, Hannah, we need to get home," he said. But Hannah pulled on his hand. "Dad, I think it is a person." Doyen felt his stomach drop. He looked again. The pile moved slightly. Hannah was right. Someone was there, sitting in the rain behind the dumpster. Every part of him wanted to keep walking. It was late. He was tired. Hannah needed dinner and sleep. Getting involved with a homeless person could be dangerous. But his wife's voice echoed in his mind. She had always said that good people help when they can. That looking away made you part of the problem. He sighed. "Stay here," he told Hannah. Doyen walked toward the dumpsters. As he got closer, his heart beat faster. It was a child. A young girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old. She wore strange clothes, torn and dirty. Her hair was plastered to her head from the rain. She was not moving much. "Hello?" Doyen called out. "Are you okay?" No response. He knelt down beside her. The girl was unconscious. Her breathing was shallow and quick. In the dim light, her skin looked strange. Too pale, almost blue. Doyen thought she must be freezing. Hypothermia could make skin look like that. Then he saw the blood. Her arms had deep cuts. Her legs were bruised. Someone had hurt this child badly. Doyen's hands shook as he pulled out his phone. He should call an ambulance. Call the police. But something made him hesitate. The girl's clothes were very strange. Not just dirty, but made of material he had never seen before, and there were symbols on them that looked like no language he knew. He looked closer at her face. Her features were slightly different. Her eyes were too large. Her ears had a subtle point to them. And her skin, even accounting for the cold, was definitely blue. This was not a human child. Doyen sat back on his heels, rain pouring down his face. His mind raced. There had been news reports recently. Strange lights in the sky. Military activity. Rumors of something the government was not telling people. He had ignored it all as conspiracy theories. But here was proof. Aliens were real. And one was dying in front of him. He should definitely call someone now. The military, scientists, someone who knew what to do. This was beyond him. Way beyond him. The girl made a small sound. A whimper of pain. Her eyes moved under her closed lids. She was suffering. Doyen thought about what would happen if he called the authorities. They would take her away, lock her up somewhere, study her. Would they help her injuries first? Or would they care more about learning her secrets? Would they be gentle with a frightened, hurt child? Or would they see her as a thing, not a person? He looked back at Hannah, still waiting by the car. She watched him with wide, trusting eyes. What would he teach his daughter if he walked away? What kind of man would he be? The decision came suddenly, without more thought. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around the girl. She was light, much lighter than a human child her size should be. He picked her up carefully, trying not to hurt her more. "Dad?" Hannah asked as he came back to the car. "We are taking her home," Doyen said. "She needs help." Hannah looked at the girl in his arms. She did not scream or act afraid. Children were good at accepting strange things. She just nodded and got into the car. The drive home took 20 minutes. Doyen kept checking the girl in the back seat. She was still breathing, but barely. Hannah sat next to her, holding the umbrella over both of them even though they were inside the car now. Their apartment was small but clean. Doyen lived modestly on his engineer's salary. He carried the girl inside and laid her on the couch. Under the bright lights of his living room, there was no denying what she was. Her skin was definitely blue. Small markings on her arms glowed faintly, like tiny lights under her skin. Her hair, now that it was starting to dry, had a silver sheen to it. Hannah stared in wonder. "Is she an alien?" she whispered. "I think so," Doyen replied. "Cool," Hannah said simply. Doyen got his first aid kit, He had basic medical training from his military service years ago. He cleaned the girl's wounds as gently as he could. Her blood was red like human blood, which was somehow reassuring. The cuts were deep but not life-threatening if he could keep them from getting infected. He bandaged her arms and legs. He checked her temperature with a forehead thermometer, though he had no idea what was normal for her species. The reading came back high by human standards. Fever, maybe, or maybe that was normal for her. When he finished, he carried her to the guest room. It had been his wife's craft room before she died. Now it was mostly storage. But there was still a bed there. He laid the girl down carefully and covered her with blankets. Hana appeared in the doorway with her favorite stuffed bear. She put it on the bed next to the sleeping girl. "So she will not be alone," she explained. Doyen felt his throat tighten with emotion. His daughter had the biggest heart. He hugged her tight. "You need to go to bed too," he said. "School tomorrow. Will she be okay?" Hana asked. "I hope so," Doyen said honestly. After Hana was in bed, Doyen sat in a chair in the guest room. He watched the alien girl sleep. His phone sat in his pocket, heavy with the weight of the decision he had not made. He could still call someone. Should call someone. But he thought about the fear he had seen in her face when he first found her, the way she had curled up trying to make herself small. Someone had hurt her. Badly. And she had been hiding, not seeking help. What if the people looking for her were not good people? What if she had run away for a reason? Doyen decided to wait, at least until morning. At least until she could wake up and he could see if she was truly safe. He could make a better decision with more information. He pulled a blanket over himself and settled into the chair for a long night. Outside, the rain continued to fall. Inside, a simple man with a good heart sat watch over a princess from the stars, not knowing that his choice would change the galaxy forever. Morning light came through the window. Doyen woke with a stiff neck from sleeping in the chair. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he remembered. The alien girl. She was still in the bed, breathing softly. The glowing marks on her arms pulsed gently with each breath. Doyen stood up slowly, his back aching. He needed coffee, and he needed to figure out what to do. In the kitchen, Hana was already awake. She sat at the table eating cereal, still in her pajamas. "Is she awake yet?" Hana asked. "Not yet," Doyen said. He poured himself coffee and sat down. "Listen, Hana, we need to talk about this, about the alien girl. Yes, you cannot tell anyone about her. Not your friends. Not your teachers, nobody. Do you understand?" Hana's eyes went wide. "Why not?" "Because bad things might happen if the wrong people find out. I need to keep her safe. Okay, Dad, I promise." Doyen hoped he was making the right choice. He got Hana ready for school and walked her to the bus stop. His mind was elsewhere the whole time. When he got back to the apartment, he found the guest room door open. The girl was awake and terrified. She had backed herself into the corner farthest from the door. Her silver eyes were huge with fear. She held the stuffed bear in front of her like a shield. When she saw Doyen, she made a sound. Not words. A clicking, musical noise that sounded like a warning. "Hey, hey," Doyen said softly. He held up his hands to show he was not armed. "It is okay. You are safe here." The girl said something in her language. It sounded like a question. Her voice was higher than a human child's, with a melodic quality to it. "I do not understand," Doyen said. He pointed to himself. "Doyen. My name is Doyen." She watched him warily. He pointed to the bed. Then he made a sleeping motion with his hands against his cheek. She seemed to understand. She nodded slightly. Doyen pointed to the bandages on her arms. Then he pointed to himself and made a gentle wrapping motion. He tried to show her that he had helped her, that he had taken care of her injuries. The girl looked at the bandages. She touched one carefully. Then she looked back at Doyen. Her expression changed slightly. Less afraid. More confused. Doyen slowly moved to the doorway. He pointed toward the kitchen and made eating motions. "Food? Are you hungry?" The girl hesitated. Then very slowly she nodded. Progress. Doyen went to the kitchen and came back with a glass of water and some rice crackers. Simple, plain food. He had no idea what she could eat. For all he knew, human food might poison her. He set the food on the floor near her and backed away. The girl watched him go. Then she looked at the food. She picked up a cracker and sniffed it. After a long moment, she took a tiny bite. She chewed slowly as if testing it. Then she took another bite, good sign. Doyen sat down in the hallway, giving her space. He pulled out his phone and checked the news. His blood ran cold. The headlines were full of it. Strange lights seen across Asia. Military on high alert. Unconfirmed reports of spacecraft. Governments denying everything. The internet was going crazy with theories and blurry photos. Someone was looking for her, and they had the whole world on edge. Doyen looked back at the girl. She had finished the crackers and was drinking the water. She looked so small, so fragile. How had she ended up here? How had she gotten hurt? Over the next few hours, they made slow progress. The girl would not leave the guest room, but she stopped cowering when Doyen came near. He brought her more food, a banana, some bread, soup. She ate cautiously but seemed to tolerate human food well enough. "I need to call you something," Doyen said at one point. He pointed to himself again, Doyen. Then he pointed to her and looked questioning. She said something in her language. It was long and complicated, with sounds he could not hope to pronounce. "How about Kira?" he suggested. It was a name he had always liked. Simple, easy to say. The girl tilted her head, listening. He said it again. "Kira." Then he pointed to her. "Kira," she repeated softly. Her accent made it sound musical. She pointed to herself. "Kira." Doyen smiled. "Yes, Kira." For the first time, the girl's expression softened. She was not quite smiling, but she was not afraid anymore either. When Hana came home from school, she was excited to see their guest. Doyen worried about how Kira would react to another person, but children had a way of connecting that adults did not. Hana walked into the guest room slowly. She smiled at Kira and waved. "Hi, I am Hana." Kira watched her carefully. Hana was small and non-threatening. She held out the stuffed bear. "Your bear," she said, even though she was giving it to Kira. "You can keep it." Kira took the bear. She looked at it, then at Hana. Then she said something in her language. It sounded gentle. "She says thank you, I think," Hana said wisely. Over the next hour, Hana sat on the floor near Kira. She showed her toys, drew pictures, made silly faces. Kira slowly relaxed. She did not speak much, but she watched everything Hana did with intense curiosity. Doyen watched from the doorway. His daughter had made more progress in an hour than he had made all day. Children did not see aliens or differences. They just saw another kid. That evening, Doyen made dinner. Simple food again. Rice, vegetables, grilled fish. He was not sure how much he should risk with unknown biology, but Kira seemed fine with what she had eaten so far. Kira came out of the guest room for the first time. She moved carefully, staying close to the walls. Her eyes darted around, taking in everything. The living room. The kitchen. The windows showing the city outside. They ate at the small table. Kira sat between Doyen and Hana. She ate slowly, copying how they used their chopsticks. She was not very good at it, but she tried hard. "Where do you come from?" Hana asked. Kira looked at her blankly. Hana pointed up. "The sky? Space?" Kira followed her finger. She looked at the ceiling, then seemed to understand. She nodded. She said something and pointed up as well. "Cool," Hana said. After dinner, Doyen let Hana and Kira watch cartoons together. Kira was fascinated by the television. She kept reaching out to touch the screen, surprised when her hand met solid glass instead of reaching through to the moving pictures. That night, Kira had nightmares. Doyen heard her crying out in her sleep. When he went to check on her, she was thrashing in the bed, tangled in the blankets. He sat beside her and spoke softly until she calmed down. She opened her eyes and looked at him. Even in the darkness, they glowed faintly silver. She said something. A single word in her language. It sounded sad. Doyen did not know what it meant, but he understood the feeling. She was scared. She was alone. She was far from home. "You are safe here," he said. "I promise. No one will hurt you." She did not understand his words, but maybe she understood his tone. She settled back down, still holding the stuffed bear. Doyen stayed with her until she fell back asleep. Later, back in his own room, Doyen lay awake staring at the ceiling. He had searched online while the girls were sleeping. The theories about aliens were getting wilder. Some people claimed the government had captured an alien craft. Others said it was a hoax. Nobody knew the truth, but Doyen knew. The truth was sleeping in his guest room. A child from another world who had somehow ended up in his care. He should call someone. Every logical part of his brain screamed at him to contact the authorities. This was too big for him, too important, too dangerous. But he remembered the fear in her eyes when she first woke up, the way she had cowered in the corner, the nightmares that made her cry out in the dark. Someone had hurt her. Someone had made her so afraid that she would rather hide behind a dumpster in the rain than seek help. Until he knew she would be safe, until he knew who was looking for her and why. He would keep her here. He would protect her the way he protected Hana. It might be the wrong choice. It might even be a dangerous choice. But it was the only choice his conscience would allow. Outside, the city slept. Above, somewhere in the darkness between stars, someone was searching, and in a small apartment in Seoul, a simple man decided that kindness mattered more than logic. That protecting a scared child was worth any risk. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight they were safe. All three of them. A small family, made larger by an impossible guest who was learning that not all strangers meant harm. 3 days passed. 3 peaceful, quiet days. Kira was starting to relax. She smiled sometimes now. She played simple games with Hana. She even tried to help Doyen make breakfast, though she was more interested in watching than doing. Doyen had called in sick to work. He told his boss he had the flu. He hated lying, but what else could he say? Sorry, I am taking care of an alien child and cannot come in. On the morning of the 4th day, everything changed. Do-yoon woke to his phone buzzing. Emergency alert. He grabbed it and saw the message. Take shelter immediately. Stay indoors. Avoid windows. His heart pounded. He ran to the window and looked out. The sky was wrong. Huge ships floated above the city. Not airplane huge, building huge. They were dark and metallic, blocking out the early morning sun. Smaller ships flew between them like insects. The streets below were chaos. Cars stopped in the middle of roads. People ran in all directions. Sirens wailed in the distance. Dad. Hana appeared in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. What is happening? Stay away from the windows, Doyen said. Go wake up Kira, bring her to the living room. He turned on the television. Every channel showed the same thing. Ships, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, appearing in the skies above major cities worldwide. Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, Moscow, they were everywhere. A newscaster spoke in rapid Korean. Her voice shook with barely controlled fear. Military forces worldwide had gone to high alert. But what could they do against ships that size? Then the broadcast changed. A message appeared on screen in multiple languages. Doyen read the Korean text with growing dread. People of Earth, we mean you no harm. We are searching for a child of our royal family. She is injured and alone. Return her safely and we will depart in peace. Harm her or hide her, and there will be consequences. You have 1 day to respond, the message repeated. Doyen felt like he could not breathe. Royal family. They were looking for Kira. Hana came into the living room holding Kira's hand. The alien girl looked at the television and froze. She saw the ships on the screen. She made a sound. A cry of fear or maybe recognition. Kira said something rapid in her language. She pointed at the screen, then at herself. Her silver eyes were wide. You know them, Doyen said. It was not a question. Those ships are looking for you. Kira nodded frantically. She spoke more, gesturing wildly. Doyen wished desperately that he could understand her. His phone rang. His mother. Then his brother. Then messages from friends. Everyone was panicking, asking if he was safe, telling him to stay inside. Doyen ignored them all. On television, world leaders were making statements. They knew nothing about any alien child. They demanded the ships leave. They threatened military action. It would mean nothing against ships like that, and everyone knew it. A hotline number appeared on screen. Anyone with information should call immediately. The reward was astronomical. Enough money to never work again. Doyen looked at Kira. She was crying now, tears running down her blue cheeks. She looked terrified. But of what? The ships? Or something else? Dad, what do we do? Hana asked. She held Kira's hand tight. What should he do? The right answer was obvious. Call the number. Tell them where she was. Save the world from potential war. Become a hero. But he looked at Kira's face, at the absolute terror in her expression. She was not scared of being alone anymore. She was scared of going back. Whatever had happened to her, whoever had hurt her, she did not want to be found. Before Doyen could decide, there was a sound, a deep vibration that rattled the windows. The lights flickered. Everything electronic in the apartment went dead. television, phone. Even the refrigerator stopped humming. Then came the knock. Not a normal knock. A boom that shook the door in its frame, the sound of something powerful demanding entry. "Hide," Doyen told the girls. "Bedroom, now. Do not come out until I say." "But Dad," Hannah started. "Now, Hannah." His daughter knew that tone. She grabbed Kira and ran. Doyen heard the bedroom door close. The knock came again. Louder. More insistent. Doyen's hands shook as he walked to the door. He had no weapon, no plan. He was just a man facing whatever was on the other side. He opened the door. 3 figures stood in the hallway. They were tall, taller than any human. They wore armor that seemed to be made of liquid metal, flowing and shifting. Their faces were hidden behind helmets. Each held a weapon that glowed with blue energy. Behind them stood a 4th figure. A woman. She wore robes that shimmered like starlight. Her skin was the same blue as Kira's, but darker, richer. Her eyes were silver fire. She radiated power and authority that made Doyen want to kneel without understanding why. The woman spoke. Her voice was commanding, used to being obeyed. She spoke in her own language first, then seemed to realize he did not understand. She paused, then spoke again in broken English. "You harbor the princess. We know she is here. Return her now, princess." The word hit Doyen like a physical blow. Kira was not just some alien child. She was royalty. And this woman, this terrifying, powerful being, was probably her mother. The woman did not wait for permission. She strode past him into the apartment, her guards following. They moved with military precision, checking rooms quickly. "Wait," Doyen said. His voice came out weak. "Please, she is scared. Do not frighten her more." The woman turned to look at him. Her expression was unreadable. She said something to one of her guards. The guard responded in their language, pointing toward the bedroom. The woman walked to the bedroom door. She opened it without hesitation. Inside, Hannah and Kira huddled together on the bed. Hannah had her arms around the alien girl protectively. When they saw the woman in the doorway, Kira's face transformed. She cried out, a single word, and suddenly she was running, arms outstretched. The powerful, terrifying woman dropped to her knees. She caught Kira in her arms and held her so tight. Her whole body shook. She said things in her language, her voice breaking. Words of relief and love and fear. Kira clung to her, crying into her shoulder. And Doyen understood. This was her mother. This was the Empress who commanded fleets and made worlds tremble. But right now she was just a mother who had found her lost child. For a long moment nobody moved. The guards stood at attention, but their postures had relaxed slightly. Hannah climbed off the bed and came to stand beside Doyen. Finally, the Empress stood. She held Kira against her hip the way any mother would hold a child. She turned to face Doyen. Her expression had changed. The hardness was gone, replaced by something complex: confusion, suspicion, curiosity. She spoke in her language. One of the guards translated, her English better than the Empress's. The Empress asks why you did not call for reward. Why you did not tell anyone the princess was here. Doyen swallowed hard. Because she was scared. Because she was hurt. Because she needed help and I could help her. The guard translated. The Empress listened, her silver eyes never leaving his face. She asked another question. She asked what payment you want now. Payment? Doyen was confused. I do not want payment. I just wanted her to be safe. The translation was met with silence. The Empress stared at him as if he had spoken nonsense. She said something else longer this time. The guard translated, but her voice sounded uncertain. The Empress does not understand. You sheltered the heir to the throne. You could have demanded great wealth. You could have sold her to enemies. You could have harmed her. But you did none of these things. She asks why. Doyen looked at Kira, still held in her mother's arms. The little girl who had nightmares. Who had learned to smile again. Who played with his daughter and ate at his table. She is a child, he said simply. What else would I do? The guard translated. And then something extraordinary happened. The Empress of a galactic empire, ruler of worlds, commander of fleets, lowered herself to one knee before a simple engineer in a small apartment. Her guards gasped. One started to protest, but she silenced him with a gesture. She spoke. The guard translated, her voice filled with awe. By the ancient laws of my people, I am in your debt. You saved my daughter when you could have ignored her. You protected her when you could have betrayed her. You asked nothing when you could have demanded everything. This debt will be honored. I swear it on my throne and my blood. Doyen did not know what to say. He just stood there, a tired man in his own home while an empress knelt before him and the fate of worlds shifted on the choice he had made beside a dumpster in the rain. The empress rose to her feet gracefully. She still held Kira, who had her face buried in her mother's shoulder. The alien child was making soft sounds, half crying, half talking in her musical language. The guard who had been translating stepped forward. She removed her helmet, revealing a face similar to the empress but younger, with harder features. A warrior's face. "My name is Soman," she said in careful English. "I am commander of the Royal Guard. The empress wishes to understand more about what happened here." Doyen nodded, still trying to process that royalty from another world was standing in his small living room. "Please sit down. Can I get you anything? Water? Food?" The empress looked surprised by the offer. She said something to Soman. "She says you continue to offer hospitality even now. She finds this strange." "Strange? It is just polite," Doyen said, Soman translated. The empress responded at length. "In our culture," Soman explained, "hospitality is transactional. You offer food, you expect payment. You give shelter, you expect service in return. To give without asking is considered foolish." Doyen frowned. "That sounds lonely." Soman's expression flickered with something. Surprise, maybe. She translated anyway. The empress actually smiled slightly. She says perhaps it is. She wishes to know the full story, how you found her daughter, what you did. So Doyen told them. About the rain, about finding Kira hurt and scared, about bringing her home and caring for her wounds, about the past few days of slowly building trust. Hana added her own details. About sharing her toys, about teaching Kira to play games, about how Kira had nightmares every night but was getting better. The empress listened to everything. Her expression was hard to read, but her hand never stopped stroking Kira's hair gently. When they finished, the empress spoke for a long time. Soman translated in pieces. 3 weeks ago, the princess was taken from the palace. Kidnappers. They wanted to force the empress to give up her throne. They hurt the princess to prove they were serious. But Kira escaped during a transport. She stole an escape pod and crashed on this planet. We have been searching every inhabited world in this sector. Doyen felt sick. 3 weeks. This child had been running and hiding for 3 weeks. Hurt and terrified and alone. She is only 8 years old, the empress said through Soman. 8 years old and she survived in a hostile world. Found shelter with a species she had never met. I am told she even learned to trust you. She is brave, Doyen said. Very brave she is, the empress agreed. She looked at him with those silver eyes. And you are strange, strange? In all my years across all the worlds in my empire, I have never met someone who gave so freely, who asked nothing, who put himself and his child at risk for a stranger. The empress paused. Soman tells me your species has a concept called compassion. Is this what that means? Doyen thought about it. I suppose so. We believe in helping others, not because we get something from it, but because it is right. The empress studied him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. On our world, such thinking is considered weakness. The strong survive by taking. The weak perish by giving. That sounds like a hard way to live, Doyen said quietly. The empress was silent for a moment. Then she said something that made even Soman look surprised. She says, perhaps it is, Soman translated. She says watching you with her daughter these past few days has made her think about this. Wait. Past few days? Doyen felt cold. You were watching us? We had sensors tracking the princess's biological signature. We have known she was here for 2 days. The empress's voice through Soman was calm. We watched to see what you would do. Whether you would harm her. Whether you would call for reward, and if I had? Doyen asked. Then we would have come much less politely, Soman said. Her hand rested on her weapon. Doyen felt anger rise in him. You let her stay scared. You let her have nightmares. You could have taken her home 2 days ago. The empress's expression hardened. She spoke sharply. She says it was a test, Soman translated. She says trust must be earned. She had to know if humans could be trusted with royal blood. She is a child, Doyen said. Not a test. She was hurt and frightened, and you made her stay that way longer than necessary. The empress looked taken aback. Clearly no one spoke to her this way. One of the other guards made an angry sound, but the empress stopped him with a gesture. She spoke more softly this time. She says you are right, Soman translated quietly. She says she let strategy overcome motherhood. She says this is something she must think about. The tension in the room eased slightly. Kira stirred in her mother's arms. She had been quiet during all this, but now she looked at Doyen. She said something in her language. She says thank you, Somin translated. She says you gave her a safe place. She says you and your daughter showed her kindness she had forgotten existed. Doyen felt his throat tighten. We just did what anyone should do. But you are not anyone, the Empress said through Soman. You are the human who saved the heir to the Velathan Empire, and that creates a situation. What kind of situation? By our ancient laws, a life debt has been created. I owe you. The Empress set Kira down gently on the couch. The Empire owes you. This debt must be paid. I do not want payment, Doyen said. I told you that, and that makes the debt even greater. The Empress walked around the small living room looking at everything. The old furniture, the pictures on the wall, the toys scattered on the floor. You live simply, modestly. You have little wealth, but you shared it anyway. It is enough for us, Doyen said. Enough. The Empress repeated the word like it was foreign. In my empire, enough is never enough. We always want more. More power, more territory, more everything. She looked at him. But you have enough, and you are happy. Doyen thought about his small life, his engineering job, his daughter. Their simple routines. Yes. I am happy. Fascinating, the Empress said. She turned to Somin. Bring up the data on this species. Somin pulled out a device. Projections appeared in the air showing text and images. The Empress read silently. Your species is young, barely spacefaring. You have no significant resources we need. Your technology is primitive. Your military could not resist even one of my ships. And yet, the Empress paused. You have something we lost long ago. What? Humanity, the Empress said simply. True concern for others. Care without condition. Love without transaction. She looked at Kira, who had climbed down and was now showing Hana something. The two girls chattering away despite not speaking the same language. When did my people forget how to be like this? Doyen had no answer. He just watched the two children playing together as if nothing strange had happened at all. The Empress made a decision. She spoke to Soman, who looked surprised but nodded. The Empress says she wants to make a formal agreement with Earth. Soman translated. Not conquest, not trade, but a cultural exchange. She wants to learn about human compassion. She wants her people to see what she saw here. Why? Doyen asked. The Empress answered herself, her English still broken but understandable. Because strong empire is not enough. Because ships and weapons are not enough. Because my daughter was hurt and scared and you showed her something I could not. Gentleness, trust, safety without price. She stepped closer to Doyen. You think you did small thing. Found child. Help child, simple. But you did something impossible. You made me question 10,000 years of culture. You made me see weakness and strength. You made me want to be better. I just helped a kid, Doyen said weakly. Yes, just. The Empress smiled fully for the first time. Such a human word. Just helped. Just cared. Just protected. Small words for big actions. She turned to her guards. We leave now. The princess needs proper medical care. The fleet will depart within the hour. Wait, Hana said suddenly. Will Kira come back? Can we see her again? The Empress looked at her daughter. Kira was clutching the stuffed bear, looking sad. The two girls had bonded in just a few days. Yes, the Empress said. She will return. I promise this. She looked at Doyen. The debt I owe cannot be paid in money or power. It must be paid in understanding, in learning, in becoming better. My daughter will return to learn about humans, to go to your schools, to live sometimes with your family. If you permit, Doyen was overwhelmed. That is a lot. Too much? The Empress asked. No, just unexpected. Another human word. The Empress said with amusement. Unexpected. We must learn these words. Enough. Just unexpected. Simple words that change everything. She called Kira over. The alien child came reluctantly, clearly not wanting to leave. The Empress knelt down and spoke to her daughter gently. Kira nodded, then ran to hug Hana. Then shyly she hugged Doyen. He felt her small arms around him and realized that all of this had been worth it. Every moment of fear and uncertainty, every risk, all worth it for this small person who had needed help. Thank you, Kira whispered in careful, practiced English. Her first human words. "You are welcome," Doyen whispered back. The Empress and her guards prepared to leave. Soman gave Doyen a communication device. "For when we return, the Empress keeps her promises." At the door, the Empress turned back. "One more thing. The kidnappers who hurt my daughter. We captured them. My law says they must die, painfully." Doyen's stomach turned. But before he could speak, the Empress continued. "But you would not approve. You who show mercy even to the undeserving. So I ask, what would you do?" Doyen thought carefully. "Justice, not revenge. Trial, not execution. A chance to understand why they did this. Maybe even a chance to change." The Empress considered this. "It goes against everything my people believe." 2 weeks had passed since the ships left. Life had returned to normal, or at least tried to. Doyen was back at work. Hana was back at school. But everything felt different now. People knew. Not who Doyen was specifically. The government had kept his identity secret for security reasons. But everyone knew that somewhere, someone had sheltered the alien princess. Someone had made first contact without violence. Someone had changed history. Doyen tried not to think about it. He focused on his engineering projects, on picking up Hana from school, on ordinary, simple things. Then, one evening, the communication device Somin had given him lit up. Doyen picked it up carefully. A holographic image appeared. The Empress, sitting on what looked like a throne made of crystal. "Hello, Doyen of Earth," she said. Her English had improved dramatically. "We have returned to our home world. Kira asks about you every day. She misses your daughter very much. How is she?" Doyen asked. "Healed. Safe. Restless." The Empress smiled slightly. "She wants to return to Earth, to continue her friendship with Hana, if this is acceptable." "Of course," Doyen said. "She is always welcome." "Good. But there is more." The Empress's expression grew serious. "I have been thinking much about what happened, about what you showed me. I have consulted with my advisors. Some think I am foolish, but I believe you have something my empire needs. What could I possibly have that an empire of star systems needs?" "Perspective," the Empress said. "We have conquered words. We have technology beyond your imagination, but we have forgotten how to care, how to show mercy, how to value life beyond its usefulness." Doyen did not know what to say to that. "I wish to propose an exchange," the Empress continued. "I will send my daughter to learn among humans, to attend your schools, to live sometimes with your family. In return, I offer Earth protection technology, a place in the galactic community." "That is too much," Doyen protested. "All I did was help a child. Yes, all, that word again." The Empress leaned forward. "You undervalue what you did. Let me tell you what happened in my empire after we found Kira." She explained that news of a human sheltering the princess had spread through the Velethan Empire. At first, many saw it as weakness, a primitive species taking advantage of a situation. "But then I told them the truth," the Empress said. "That you demanded nothing, that you risked everything, that you showed my daughter kindness when you could have shown cruelty. And something changed." "What changed?" "Questions," the Empress said. "My people began asking questions they had not asked in millennia. Why did he help? What did he want? When they learned you wanted nothing, they did not understand. So they had to think about it. And thinking leads to change." Doyen sat down heavily. He had just wanted to help a hurt kid. He never imagined it would shake an entire empire. "I have made a decision," the Empress said. "I am establishing a new office in my government. The Office of Compassion. Its job is to study human ethics and culture, to learn what makes you different, and to teach my people that strength and kindness are not opposites." "That is ambitious," Doyen said weakly. "It is necessary." The Empress's voice was firm. "For 10,000 years we have ruled through power, and we have been lonely, empty. We have forgotten that ruling is not the same as leading. That fear is not the same as respect." She paused and her voice softened. "My daughter taught me this. When I found her with you, she was not afraid. She was happy. I had never seen her truly happy before, and I realized that I had raised her to be a ruler but not a person." "You seem like a good mother," Doyen said gently. "I am trying to be." The Empress smiled sadly. "But I am learning. Just as you must teach Kira human ways, she will teach me how to be better. This is the exchange I truly want. Not technology, not power, but wisdom." Before Doyen could respond, Hana appeared in the doorway. "Dad, who are you talking to?" The Empress, Doyen said. Hana's face lit up. Can I talk to Kira? The Empress turned and called something. A moment later, Kira appeared in the hologram. She was dressed in elaborate robes now, clearly royal attire, but her face was the same. When she saw Hana, she squealed with delight. The two girls started chattering immediately, half in English, half in Kira's language, mostly in gestures and giggles. They talked about everything and nothing: school, friends, toys, the normal concerns of children regardless of species. Doyen watched them and felt something warm in his chest. This was right. This was how it should be. After the girls finished talking, the Empress made her formal proposal. She wanted to establish an embassy on Earth. Not for trade or military purposes, but for cultural exchange. Specifically, she wanted to create a program where young people from both species could learn from each other. Earth leaders will need to approve this, Doyen pointed out. They will, the Empress agreed. I am meeting with your United Nations tomorrow, but I wanted your blessing first. You are the reason this is possible. Your opinion matters. My opinion? I am just an engineer. You are the man who saved my daughter. That makes your opinion matter more than most. The Empress looked at him seriously. Do you think humans are ready for this? To meet other species as equals? To teach what you know about compassion? Doyen thought about it. Humans were complicated. They could be cruel and kind, selfish and generous, but at their best, they tried. They cared. They helped, yes, he said finally. I think we are ready. We might mess it up sometimes, but we will try. And trying counts for something. Trying counts for everything, the Empress said. That is what I have learned from you. That effort matters. That intention matters. That doing your best is enough. She ended the call with a promise. Kira would return within a month. She would attend school with Hana. She would learn to live as humans lived. And through her, the Velethan Empire would learn that there were other ways to be strong. After the hologram disappeared, Hana looked at her father. Dad, is Kira really going to live with us sometimes? If that is okay with you, that is awesome. Hana jumped up and down. Wait until I tell my friends. I have an alien best friend. You cannot tell them she is an alien princess, Doyen warned. That has to stay secret for now. Fine, but she is still my best friend. Yes, she is. That night, Doyen received an official visit from government representatives. They wanted to know everything about his conversations with the Empress. They wanted to prepare him for what was coming. You are going to be famous, one official said. When this becomes public, everyone will want to know about you. I do not want to be famous, Doyen protested. Too late for that. You are the first human to have meaningful contact with aliens. You are a symbol now. I just helped a kid, Doyen said for the 100th time. And that is exactly why you are perfect, another official said. You did not do it for glory. You did not do it for reward. You did it because it was right. That is the message we want to send to the galaxy. That is what makes humanity special. Over the next few weeks, things moved quickly. The United Nations approved the Empress's proposal. An embassy was established. News broke about alien contact. And yes, eventually Doyen's name became public. The attention was overwhelming. News crews camped outside his apartment. Reporters called constantly. People wanted interviews, book deals, movie rights. Doyen refused it all. He released one statement. I did what anyone should do. I helped someone who needed it. That is all. But to the world it was not all. It was everything. Humans had met aliens not with weapons but with kindness. And the aliens had responded not with conquest but with respect. Churches debated what it meant theologically. Scientists scrambled to learn new physics. Philosophers wrote about the implications of compassion as a universal value. And through it all, Doyen just tried to be a good father and a decent person. When Kira returned a month later, she came with less ceremony. Just So Min and 2 guards landing in a park near Doyen's apartment at night. She wore normal clothes now. Jeans and a shirt. Though her blue skin and silver eyes made her obviously not human, she carried a backpack full of school supplies. Hello, she said in clear English. She had been practicing. I'm here for school. Hana ran to hug her. We are going to have so much fun. And they did. Kira attended a special private school with high security. She learned math and science and history. She played games with other kids. She discovered she loved art and hated running. She was just a kid. A kid from another world, but still just a kid. Every few weeks, the Empress would call. She would ask Doyen questions about human families, about human values. about how they balanced individual freedom with social responsibility. These talks became the foundation of something bigger. The Empress was truly trying to change her empire, to make it less about power and more about care. It was slow. Many resisted. But she kept trying, because someone had shown her it was possible. Someone had looked at a hurt child and seen not a political opportunity but a person needing help, and that someone had been a simple engineer who thought kindness was just what you did. 6 months after first contact, the Empress returned to Earth. She came for a formal ceremony, a treaty signing. Humans and Velethans pledging friendship and mutual learning. But before the ceremony, she asked to visit Doyen privately. She came to his apartment again, this time with less drama. She sat on his old couch and accepted tea. "I want to thank you," she said without ceremony. "You already did." "No, I thanked you for a year had passed since first contact." The world had changed in ways both large and small. The Velethan embassy in Geneva bustled with activity. Young people from Earth studied alien technology and culture. Young Velethans learned human languages and customs. The exchange program had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Kira now split her time between Earth and her homeworld. She attended school in Seoul for half the year, living with Doyen and Hana. The arrangement had become normal, or as normal as having an alien princess as a roommate could be. Doyen's life had changed too. He still worked as an engineer, but now he also served as an informal advisor on human-alien relations. Not officially. He refused any official position. But people asked his opinion. "Both humans and Velethans, how do you make it work?" they would ask. "How do you bridge such different cultures?" His answer was always the same. "You treat each other like people. You listen, you care. It is not complicated, but it was complicated." The cultural differences ran deep. Velethans were efficient and logical. They made decisions based on maximum benefit. They formed relationships based on mutual advantage. The concept of unconditional love was foreign to them. Humans were messy and emotional. They made choices based on feelings as much as logic. They helped friends even when it hurt them. They valued connections that had no practical purpose. These differences caused problems. Commander Soman had become a regular visitor to Earth. She was leading a project to understand human psychology. But she struggled with concepts that seemed simple to humans. One day she sat in Doyun's kitchen, frustrated. "I do not understand friendship," she said bluntly. "On my world we have allies, partners, colleagues, but your friendship has no purpose. You spend time with people just to spend time with them. You help them even when they cannot help you back. Why? Because it makes us happy," Doyen explained. "Because we enjoy their company. Because we care about them. But what do you gain? Happiness. Connection. Someone to share life with." "That is not tangible," Soman protested. "Not everything valuable is tangible," Doyen said. "Love is not tangible. Hope is not tangible. But they matter," Soman frowned, thinking. "On my world we assign partners based on compatible skills. Breeding pairs are chosen for genetic optimization. Raising children is done by specialists, not parents. It is efficient. Does it make you happy?" Doyen asked gently. Somin paused. She had never really considered that question. Happy is not the goal. Success is the goal. "Maybe that is the problem," Doyen suggested. These conversations happened often. Velethans were genuinely trying to understand. But understanding took time. The Empress continued her reforms. She had created new laws protecting individual rights. She had changed the education system to include emotional development, not just skill training. She had even started encouraging Velethan families to raise their own children instead of using specialized caregivers. But many resisted. Traditional Velethans saw these changes as weakness. They argued that emotion made you vulnerable, that compassion was inefficient, that the old ways had worked for millennia. There were protests, political opposition. Some colonies threatened to break away from the empire rather than accept these soft human values. The Empress held firm, but Doyun could see it was wearing on her. One night she called him from her throne room. She looked tired. "They are calling me the weak Empress," she said. "They say I have been corrupted by human sentiment. That I am destroying our strength, are you?" Doyun asked. "I do not know." The Empress rubbed her temples. "I look at my reforms and I see value, but I also see chaos. Efficiency has decreased. Productivity has dropped. People are spending time on relationships instead of work." "Is that really bad?" Doyun asked. By our metrics, yes, we are weaker militarily, less economically productive, less disciplined. But are your people happier? The Empress paused. That is the strange thing. Yes, surveys show increased life satisfaction, decreased mental health issues, better social cohesion. But these are not metrics we valued before. Maybe they should be, Doyen said. The Empress smiled slightly. You always say should. As if morality is obvious. But to us it is not. We must learn it like a new language, then keep learning. It gets easier, does it? The Empress looked uncertain for the first time since Doyen had met her. I wonder sometimes if I am doing the right thing. If I am helping my people or hurting them. You are teaching them to care, Doyen said. That is never wrong, but at what cost? Doyen did not have an answer for that. Meanwhile, on Earth, the changes were significant too. Velethan technology was being shared gradually. New energy sources, advanced materials, medical techniques that cured diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. But there were problems here too. Some humans feared the aliens. Others wanted to use the technology for war. Nations competed for advantages. Old conflicts took on new dimensions. One day, Doyen was called to testify before the United Nations Security Council. They wanted to know if the Velethans could be trusted, if this alliance was safe. I cannot promise safety, Doyen told them. I can only tell you what I have seen. A mother who loves her daughter. People trying to learn and grow. Beings who are different from us but not so different that we cannot understand each other. But what if they turn on us? One representative demanded. They have weapons we cannot match. Ships that could destroy us. They do, Doyen agreed. Just as we could have turned away the Empress's daughter. We could have hurt her. Used her as a hostage. We had power too. But we chose kindness instead. That is naive. Another representative scoffed. Is it? Doyen looked around the room. We have spent millennia being suspicious, competing, fighting. Has it made us happy? Has it made us safe? Or has it just made us tired? The room was silent. I am not saying trust blindly, Doyen continued. I am saying give compassion a chance. See where it leads. Because I have seen what it can do. It can turn enemies into friends. Fear into hope. Isolation into connection. His words were recorded, shared, debated, some agreed. Others thought he was foolish. But slowly, gradually, more people chose to try. To extend trust. To build bridges instead of walls. Back at home, life continued its strange new normal. Kira and Hana were now 10 years old, growing up together despite being from different worlds. They had sleepovers where they taught each other games. Kira showed Hana Velethan puzzles that operated on alien physics. Hana taught Kira human sports, though the alien girl was terrible at basketball. They fought sometimes, the way sisters did. Over toys, over whose turn it was. Over nothing at all. But they also protected each other fiercely. When a boy at school made fun of Kira's blue skin, Hana punched him. When another girl called Hana poor for living in a small apartment, Kira informed her that Hana was richer in kindness than anyone she knew. Both girls got detention. Doyen tried to be stern about the violence, but he was secretly proud. One evening, as he was tucking them in, Kira asked a question. Doyen, do you think humans and Velethans will really be friends? Forever, I hope so, Doyen said. But what if we are too different? What if my people cannot learn to be like humans? Doyen sat on the edge of the bed. You do not have to be like humans. You just have to care about humans, and we have to care about you. That is enough. But my mother is having so much trouble. People are angry at her. They say she is wrong. Change is hard, Doyen said, especially when you are changing something as big as how an entire empire thinks. But your mother is brave. She is trying to make things better. What if she fails? Then she fails. But at least she tried. And trying matters. Kira thought about this. Then she hugged him. Thank you for teaching us to try. After the girls were asleep, Doyen stood at his window looking at the stars. Somewhere up there, an empire was transforming. People were learning to value compassion over efficiency, love over logic. It was messy, difficult, maybe even impossible. But they were trying. And as Doyen had said, trying mattered. Because a year ago, he had tried to help a hurt child. And that simple try had rippled outward, touching millions of lives across the galaxy. Who knew what might happen if they all kept trying? A message came through on his communication device. It was Somin. I think I understand friendship now, she wrote. It is like being on a team where the goal is just to support each other. Where winning means everyone is happy, not just you. Doyen smiled. That is exactly right. It seems inefficient, Soman continued. But also kind of nice. Nice was a start. From nice you could build to wonderful. From wonderful to essential. Doyen replied, I am glad you see it. You are a good friend, Soman. There was a pause. Then thank you. That means more than I expected. Outside, the city slept. Above, the stars shone. And across the galaxy, slowly but surely, people were learning that kindness was not weakness, that compassion was not inefficiency, that love in all its forms was the strongest force in the universe. It had started with one man helping one child, but it was growing into something beautiful, something that just might change everything. Doyen was older now. Gray had appeared in his hair. Lines marked his face. But his eyes were still kind and his heart was still open. Hana was 17, a smart, compassionate young woman studying xenopsychology at university. She wanted to help humans and aliens understand each other better. She wanted to build bridges. Kira was 18 by Velathan reckoning, about 17 in human years. She had grown into a thoughtful, gentle person who balanced both her cultures. She was heir to an empire, but also just a girl who loved Earth and the family who had taken her in. The galaxy had changed dramatically. The Velathan Empire was unrecognizable from what it had been. The reforms the Empress had started were now deeply rooted. Velathan children grew up with their parents. Schools taught empathy alongside efficiency. Art and music, once considered useless, now flourished. It had not been easy. Some colonies had broken away, unwilling to accept the changes. There had been conflicts, setbacks, times when it seemed the whole experiment would fail, but the Empress had persisted. And slowly her people had seen the benefits. Crime had decreased. Innovation had increased. People reported being happier, more fulfilled, more connected. Mental illness, once ignored, was now treated with compassion. The elderly, once cast aside when they could no longer work, were now valued for their wisdom. The weak were protected instead of discarded. The Empire was softer now, but also stronger in ways it had never been before. Other alien species had noticed. Some mocked the Velathans for going soft, but others were curious, cautiously interested in this human concept of compassion. 3 other species had established embassies on Earth. 2 more had formal cultural exchange programs with the Velathan Empire. The galaxy was learning slowly that there were other ways to be strong, and it all traced back to a simple act of kindness on a rainy night in Seoul. Doyen had never sought recognition. He still lived in his small apartment, though he could have lived anywhere. He still worked as an engineer, though he had been offered positions that would have made him wealthy and powerful. But he had accepted one role: advisor to the Galactic Council for Human Values. It was mostly informal. He talked to people, shared his perspective, helped others see that ethics and efficiency did not have to be opposites. Today was a special day. The 10th anniversary of First Contact. A ceremony was planned at the United Nations. Representatives from 20 species would attend. The Empress would give a speech. Doyen had been asked to say a few words he did not want to. Public speaking terrified him, but Hana had convinced him. Dad, you started this, she had said. People need to hear from you. I did not start anything. I just helped a kid, yes. And that helped change the galaxy. Own it, Dad. So here he was, backstage at the UN, nervous and uncomfortable in a formal suit. The Empress found him there. She looked regal as always, but her expression was warm. Nervous? She asked. Terrified, Doyen admitted. She laughed. The powerful Empress who ruled star systems, laughing at his fear. I am nervous too. I'm announcing something big today. What? You will see. She squeezed his hand. Thank you, Doyen, for everything. I did not do anything special. You saved my daughter. You showed me how to be better. You changed my empire. How is that not special? Before he could answer, it was time. The ceremony began with fanfare. Representatives from different species gave speeches. Each one talked about cooperation, understanding, peace. Then the Empress took the stage. She spoke about the past 10 years, about how difficult change had been, about the resistance she had faced, about the times she had doubted. But then I remembered why I started, she said. I remembered a human man who asked for nothing but gave everything, who showed me that strength and kindness could coexist, who proved that compassion was not weakness but the strongest force in the universe. She gestured to Doyen. Many of you know the story. How he found my daughter. How he sheltered her. How he changed everything. But I want to tell you something you may not know. The room was silent. After we found Kira, I had Doyen investigated. I wanted to understand what made him different. I expected to find ambition, hidden agendas, some explanation for his actions that fit my worldview. She paused, but there was nothing. He was exactly what he appeared to be. A man who did his job, loved his daughter, helped others when he could. That was all. And that was everything. The Empress's voice grew emotional. For 10,000 years, my empire measured worth by power, by conquest, by domination. We looked at beings like Doyen and saw weakness, naivety, something to be exploited. But we were wrong. We were so wrong. She looked directly at him. Doyen showed me that true strength is not in taking but in giving, not in dominating but in caring, not in being served but in serving others. These are human values, but they should be universal values. The crowd murmured approval. Today I announce the creation of the Galactic Compassion Initiative, a coalition of species dedicated to spreading these values, to teaching that mercy matters, that kindness counts, that love in all its forms is worth more than all the weapons in the galaxy. The announcement was met with applause. Some polite, some enthusiastic, some uncertain. And I announced something else, the Empress continued. I am stepping down as Empress. Shocked silence. Not entirely, she clarified. I will remain as a constitutional monarch, a figurehead, a guide, but I am establishing a democratic government. My people will choose their own leaders, make their own choices. I will no longer rule by absolute authority but by earned respect. The room erupted in discussion. This is possible because of what I learned from humans. That leaders serve people, not the other way around. That power is a responsibility, not a right. That the best government is one chosen by the governed. She smiled. My daughter will eventually inherit my title, but she will inherit a very different empire than I did. One built on consent, not conquest. On cooperation, not control. On love, not fear. More applause. Louder this time. Then it was Doyen's turn. He walked to the podium on shaking legs, looked out at the assembled representatives of 20 species, took a breath. I do not have a grand speech prepared, he began. I am not a politician or a philosopher. I am just a man who tried to do the right thing. He paused. 10 years ago, I found a hurt child in the rain. I did not know she was a princess. I did not know she was an alien. I just knew she needed help. So I helped her. Simple words. But the room was completely silent. I have been told many times that this was extraordinary, that I did something special. But I do not see it that way. I see it as the bare minimum, as what any decent person should do. He looked around the room. We spend so much time asking what we can gain. What is in it for us? How can we benefit? But those are the wrong questions. The right question is simpler. What can I do to help? Some faces showed understanding. Others showed confusion. I am told that not all species think this way, that some cultures value strength over kindness, power over compassion, success over connection, and I am not saying those values are wrong, but I am saying they are incomplete. He thought about his words carefully. The strongest person is not the one who never falls. It is the one who helps others up when they fall. The most powerful empire is not the one with the biggest weapons. It is the one people choose to join, not fear to leave. The greatest success is not measured in wealth or territory. It is measured in lives improved, in suffering reduced, in hope created. Doyen felt his nervousness fading. He was just talking now, saying what he believed. For 10 years I have watched the galaxy change. I have seen the Velethan Empire transform. I have seen other species take notice. I have seen small acts of kindness ripple outward in ways I never imagined. He smiled. And I have learned something important. Change is possible, no matter how old a culture is, no matter how set in its ways. People can learn. People can grow. People can choose to be better. His voice grew stronger, but it starts small. It starts with one person helping another person. One act of kindness. One choice to do right instead of easy. That is all it takes. Just one person deciding that compassion matters. He looked at the Empress. 10 years ago, I helped one child. Today, because of that, billions of people across the galaxy are learning to value kindness. If one small act can do that, imagine what we could accomplish if we all tried. If we all chose compassion over convenience, care over cruelty, love over logic. Doyen's final words were simple. We are many species, many cultures, many worlds, but we share this galaxy, this life, this brief moment of existence. We can spend it competing and fighting and taking, or we can spend it helping and growing and giving. The choice is ours. Every day, every moment. Each of us decides what kind of galaxy we want to live in. He stepped back. The room erupted in applause. Some species who could not clap made their own sounds of approval. It was overwhelming. Afterward, people wanted to talk to him, to shake his hand, to thank him. Doyen was polite but brief. He found Hana and Kira in the crowd. "You did good, Dad," Hana said, hugging him. Kira hugged him too. "You always do good." They left together, escaping the crowd, went back to the small apartment that had seen so much history. That evening, the three of them had a quiet dinner. Nothing fancy, just rice and vegetables and conversation. "What will you do now?" Kira asked Doyen. "Now that you are famous." "Same as before," Doyen said. "Go to work, come home, spend time with you two. Maybe help people when I can, that is it."